I...
Don't you dare raise that filthy hands of yours on me.
F has no fury like a woman scorned. But to understand what led to this life-altering slap, we need to go back to 3 months ago, where it all started.
He's a man.
Adaeze!
Mama,
You gave your car to a man. A useless man at that.
Please, Mama, I'm sorry.
Don't you dare call me your mother.
I love him, Mama.
I have told you never to love a man with your heart but with your head, but you don't listen. Pack all your things and go live with that man you call husband material. Adaeze, you will regret this.
Adaeze did not come to Lagos chasing a dream. She came because a man looked her in the eyes and swore on his mother's grave that she was the only woman he had ever truly chosen. Her name was Adaeze Ngosu, and the day she dragged 2 bags through the gate of that Surilire compound and climbed to the 3rd floor of that building was the day she walked, eyes wide open, into the worst and most hurtful moment of her life. She knocked on the door of flat 6. It opened, but it was not Emeka standing there. It was a woman, beautiful, tall, a wrapper tied high across her chest, reading glasses on her head, a wooden spoon in her right hand. The kind of woman who stands in a kitchen doorway like she owns every room the doorway leads to, because she did. She looked at Adaeze the way you look at something that has just appeared somewhere it has no business being. "Can I help you?" she asked. Before Adaeze could answer, footsteps came from inside. Then Emeka appeared behind the woman, the same Emeka who had held her hands across a restaurant table in Enugu 4 months ago and said, "I am going to spend the rest of my life making you feel chosen." He stopped the moment he saw her. 3 seconds of silence. 4. 5. Then his face did something Adaeze would never forget for the rest of her life. Every trace of warmth, every molecule of the man she had known drained out of it, like someone had pulled a plug at the base of his throat. What replaced it was cold, arranged and deliberate. "Ada," his voice was careful, "what are you doing here?" Adaeze felt the world tilt, just slightly, like a table with one short leg. "What am I?" She stopped. Started again. "Emeka, you told me to come. You sent me the address. You said..." "Who is this?" the woman asked. Not loudly, quietly, which was so much worse. "Nobody," Emeka said. Nobody. The word did not land like a slap. It landed like a verdict, like something that had been decided about her before she walked through that gate, before she packed those 2 bags, before she submitted her resignation letter in the school in Enugu where she had taught English for 6 years. Nobody. Adaeze stood absolutely still, and in the stillness, something cold and clear moved through her. Not tears, not rage, something older and more precise. The feeling of a woman who has just understood exactly what has been done to her. "My name," she said, and her voice was steady in a way that surprised even her, "is Adaeze Ngosu, and this man asked me to leave my job, pack my life, and come to Lagos to marry him." The woman with the spoon turned and looked at her husband. Emeka looked at Adaeze the way a man looks at a fire he has started in someone else's house, calculating the distance between himself and the exit. "Kemi," his voice had an edge now, "go back inside. This woman is disturbed. She has been calling my phone for months. I tried to be kind to her at my cousin's burial and she..." "Show me your phone," Kemi said. "Kemi, I am not going to..." "Show me your phone." The flat went silent. Even the generator outside seemed to lower its voice. Emeka handed over the phone. Kemi scrolled. She was quiet for a long time. The wooden spoon was still in her hand. Adaeze noticed with the strange, precise clarity that shock sometimes brings that it had jollof rice on the tip. Someone's dinner was burning on the stove. When Kemi finally put the phone down on the kitchen counter, She did not look at her husband. She looked at Adaeze. How much did you bring? Adaeze hesitated. He said we would need money for the court registry, for the marriage license. He said to bring what I had saved. How much, my sister? The word sister hit different. Adaeze's jaw tightened. 10 million naira. The number sat in the room like a third person who had been there the whole time. Kemi closed her eyes, opened them, and then she said the thing that cracked the floor opataki beneath all of them. You did this to a woman in Abuja 3 years ago. She sat in that same chair you are standing next to. She had messages, she had photographs, she had left her family. Adaeze looked at Emeka. He said nothing, not one word. He stood there in his own living room in front of his own wife and he said absolutely nothing because there was nothing left to see. The architecture of the lie he had built was collapsing and all he could do was stand in the rubble and watch. You did this before? Adaeze asked in shock. Her voice was not loud. It was the quietest it had been since she arrived. You practiced this on someone else before you did it to me? Still nothing. Did she get her money back? Kemi looked at the stove, turned off the burner. No, she said. Adaeze set her bag down on the floor, slowly, deliberately, like she was planting a flag. Then I am not leaving until I have every answer I came here for and my complete money, she said with her voice laced with pain, hurt and disappointment as her mother's words kept ringing in her ears, warning her in the past that Emeka was never a good person and he would only use her, extort her and dump her. Emeka finally moved. He stepped forward, his voice dropping into the register that had always made her feel like she was the only person in the room. That law-setting, intimate register that she now understood was just a tool he kept sharpened for moments exactly like this. Ada, you need to go. You are embarrassing yourself. I don't know what you thought this was, but I have 11 months of messages on my phone, Emeka. I have voice notes where you call me my heart. I have the receipts from every restaurant in Enugu where you held my hands and told me you had never loved anyone the way you loved me. I have everything. A woman can fabricate. Your voice is on those recordings. Your face is in those photographs. Which one do you want to start with? He reached for her phone. She stepped back. Don't touch me, she said.
He stopped. Something shifted in him then. Not remorse, not shame, something more dangerous. Recalculation. She could see it happening behind his eyes. It was not done. It was just changing his approach. And the fact that she could read it, the fact that she could see him doing it in real time, that terrified him in a way that her crying would never have done. She wasn't crying. She was watching him. Emeka said, turning to his wife, I need you to ask this woman to leave my house. Our house, Kemi said. Pause. I'm sorry. You said my house. It is our house, Emeka. I paid the rent on this flat for the last 2 years while your contracts were delayed. Our house. The silence that followed was the kind that rearranges furniture. Kemi looked at Adaeze. There was something in her face now. Not pity, not sisterhood, something more complicated. The look of a woman who has been collecting evidence for years and has just been handed the final piece. Kemi said, You will sleep here tonight, Adaeze, and in the morning we will talk, all three of us. Kemi, you cannot be serious. Go and sleep in the children's room, Emeka. Tonight, you are the one who doesn't belong in this bedroom. That night, Adaeze lay on the sofa in the dark, with her phone on her chest and the ceiling fan cutting slow circles above her. She did not sleep. She tried to cry, but the pain she was feeling had made her numb to tears. All she wanted was to be able to turn the hands of the clock back to the past when her mother warned to end things with Emeka. She even fought with her mother all because of Emeka. She ignored every other man that came her way all because of Emeka. She thought about the woman in Abuja 3 years ago. Same chair, same story, no money returned. She thought about her mother's face when she left, the pain in her mother's eyes when she packed her things and left the house. She thought about the time Emeka would keep malice with her over small issues, especially when he is the one at fault. She thought about the photographs on the shelf, Emeka and Timi at their traditional marriage. 8 years ago minimum, judging by how young Kemi looked. 3 children in school uniforms, a baby in Emeka's arms, his face open with uncomplicated joy. The one expression she had once not seen on him in 11 months. He had 3 children. He had a whole life, complete, full, and he had built another one on top of it, using her trust as the foundation. She picked up her phone, opened their WhatsApp thread, scrolled to the very beginning, and she found the pattern. Every lie he told had a shape. Every manipulation had a structure, and all she had to do was find his flaws, but she was so blinded by love not to accept them. She put the phone down on her chest and stared at the ceiling. In the bedroom at the end of the corridor, she could hear Kemi moving around. No television, no voice, just footsteps, back and forth, back and forth. The sound of a woman pacing the perimeter of a decision she has not yet made. Adaeze understood that sound. She had been making it herself in her head since the moment she saw that door open. She closed her eyes. She was a woman who had just been given the most valuable thing a person can receive, the complete and total revelation of exactly who she was dealing with. And now, she was going to decide what to do with that. The morning came in sideways through the curtains, the kind of Lagos morning that doesn't care what happened to you the night before. Adaeze heard the bedroom door open at 6:43 a.m. She heard voices, low, urgent, the specific frequency of a conversation being had in whispers. She lay still, eyes open, listening. She could not make out the words, but she could make out the shape of what was happening, the rise and fall of it, the way a negotiation sounds when one person has already decided and the other is just learning that they lost. Then, silence. Then, Kemi appeared in the doorway of the sitting room, fully dressed, her headscarf tied with the precision of a woman who had decided something and needed her appearance to confirm it. She looked at Adaeze the way you look at a stain on a tablecloth you are about to cover with a centerpiece. "You need to leave," she said. Adaeze sat up slowly. "I'm sorry?" "You heard me." Kemi's voice was different from the night before. Whatever had been in it, that strange, complicated solidarity had been replaced by something flat and practiced. "You need to pack your things and leave this house now." Emeka stepped forward and his mask came off entirely. "In fact," he said, and his voice now had a sneer built into it, the sneer of a man who no longer needed to perform. "You should be ashamed of yourself, coming into a man's house, harassing his wife. You are lucky I don't call the police." "You should call the police," Adaeze said quietly. "They would love to hear this conversation." "Get out," Kemi said. "You threw yourself at him." Emeka's voice rose. "That is what happened. You were desperate, a 30-something woman, no husband, no future, chasing a man that was never available." "My money, Emeka, my car." "There is no money. There was never an agreement, whatever you gave." "I gave you millions of naira on the 15th of March, First Bank. I have the transfer receipt." "A gift," he said. "That's what it was, a gift from a woman who couldn't take a hint." Kemi opened the front door. "I will count to 10, she said. "And if you are not moving, I will start screaming and every neighbor on this floor will come out and see the woman who won't leave my husband alone." Adaeze looked at her, really looked at her, at the set of her jaw, at the way she was gripping the door handle so hard her knuckles had changed color. Adaeze picked up her 2 bags, the same way she had set them down. Slowly, deliberately, trying desperately to fight the tears from dripping down her cheek. The last thing she wanted to do was show her weakness and pain in front of a man that has hurt her so much. "You will regret this," she said, but not to Emeka. She said it to Kemi. Kemi looked away. Adaeze walked out, seeing her precious car parked in their compound. She sat in a keke mawa outside the compound and she let herself cry for a long time.
Not because she was broken, but because she needed to feel the weight of what had just happened before she put it down and picked up something else. Then she wiped her face with the back of her hand, took out her phone, and called her cousin Ngozi, who lived in Bagada. "I need a place to stay," she said. 2 weeks, maybe 3. "What happened?" "I will explain when I get there." She paused. "Buy data. I'm going to need to use your Wi-Fi." She did not go back to Enugu. That was the first decision, the simplest one, and the one that surprised her most. Because 2 days ago, walking through that compound gate, going home felt like the only failure she could not survive. Now, it felt like exactly what he wanted. He wanted her small. He wanted her gone. He wanted her back in the village, holding the shame of it, telling the story of the man who tricked her as a cautionary tale at other people's weddings. No, Adaeze Ninosu was not going back to be a cautionary tale. She was going to stay in Lagos, and she was going to make Emeka Obi wish he had never learned her name. She spent the first 3 days in Ngozi's flat, building the picture, not from anger. Anger is loud and expensive and makes you sloppy. She built it from pain, strategy, and method. She pulled every message, every transfer receipt, every photograph. She organized them chronologically in a folder on her phone, then backed it up to Google Drive, then emailed it to herself, then printed everything at the business center on the next street, and kept the physical copies in a brown envelope that she put at the bottom of her second bag. Then she found her. She found the woman in Abuja. It took her 4 days and 3 false leads. But the thing about women who have been burned by the same fire is that they eventually find each other. A Facebook group, a comment thread, a name dropped in a DM that opened into a story that matched hers beat for beat. Her name was Chinyere. She had given Emeka 2 million naira 3 years ago. He had told her it was for their apartment deposit. She had left her job in Abuja. She had arrived at that same flat in Surulere and met Kemi, who at the time did not believe a single word that came out of her mouth, and she had been thrown out the same morning. She had tried to report him to the police. He had friends at the station. "Don't go to the police," Chinyere told her over the phone, her voice the voice of someone who has metabolized their lesson. "I'm not going to the police," Adaeze said. "Then what are you going to do?" "I'm going to give him exactly what he wants. One more woman to deceive." She built the persona carefully. Her name was Chisom Adeyemi. She was a widow. She had money. Not flashy money, but the specific kind of money that a certain kind of man finds irresistible. Quiet money. Inheritance money. Confused money looking for somewhere safe to land. She created a Facebook profile. 3 weeks old, sparse, careful. A profile photo she took of Ngozi's neighbor, a pretty woman in her 40s who agreed without asking too many questions. A few posts, a church activity, a vague mention of Abuja. Then she found Emeka's profile. Senior project consultant, 12 years experience, a photo where he was wearing a blazer and smiling the smile of a man who has never been caught. She sent a connection request from a dummy account she used only to locate him. Then she waited. He accepted in 20 minutes. She switched to Chisom, sent a message. "You were recommended to me by a mutual contact for real estate investment advice. I recently received funds from my late husband's estate, and I am looking for guidance from someone experienced and trustworthy." She sent it at 11 p.m. He replied at 11:07. The next 18 days were the most focused of Adaze's life. She became Chisom the way you become a character in a play you have rehearsed for years, completely, without remainder. She learned his patterns again from the outside. The way he tested interest before he deployed charm. The way he used expertise to establish authority. The way he let you feel like you were the one pursuing him, when really he was reeling you in, inch by inch, so slowly you didn't feel the hook. She had felt it once, all his manipulative tricks. She would not feel it again. On day 12, she saw mentioned she had 100 million naira sitting in an account she didn't know what to do with. On day 14, Emeka suggested a meeting. On day 17, they agreed to meet at a hotel in Victoria Island to discuss an investment opportunity he had just become aware of. A land purchase in Ebejuleki, he said, that was going to triple in value in 18 months. Adaeze knew before he said it that it was going to be land. It is always land. Land is the oldest lie in Lagos. She made one phone call before she went to that meeting. Not to the police, to a journalist she had met 3 years ago in a content marketing conference. A woman named Sola who ran an investigative platform with 40,000 followers and a reputation for stories that ended careers. I need you to be in a hotel lobby in Victoria Island on Friday, Adaeze said. Dress like you are waiting for someone. Bring your phone. I'll do the rest. What kind of story? Sola asked. The kind people share. She wore glasses she didn't need, a wig she borrowed from Ngozi, a dress that was not hers, in a color she would not normally choose. She looked like herself and nothing like herself at the same time. Do you mind coming to my suite? He asked in his usual cunning and deceptive tone. Adaeze hesitated for a minute, but she knew it's a risk she was willing to take. She had already taped herself. Sure, I will join you shortly, she replied, with a smile of a woman ready to bring a man's world crashing to the ground. She sat across from Emeka in the hotel room on the 4th floor, and she watched him do it. She watched him deploy every single tool she had once fallen for. The leaning forward, the lowered voice, the way he said Chisom, like the name was something precious, the way he let his hand rest close to hers on the table without touching, close enough that she could feel the intention of it. She let him. She performed uncertainty. She performed the specific vulnerability of a woman who had lost something and was looking for steadiness. She had lived that woman. She knew exactly what she felt like from the inside. He tried getting closer as he kept on admiring her and saying flirting words at her while she noticed his wedding band was missing. I thought you were married, she asked, jolting him back to reality. Oh no, you thought wrong, he replied with that sinister laughter. Oh, let's get to business then, she replied with a smile of a woman ready to bring a man's world crashing to the ground.
Emeka, she said. Something moved behind his eyes. The slight misfire of a man who has just heard his name in a voice that doesn't match the face. He removed the glasses. The color left his face in sequence. First the forehead, then the jaw, then everywhere. She removed the glasses. The silence lasted 6 seconds. Then he stood up. Sit down, she said, and her voice had an edge in it she had been keeping sharpened for days. I have a journalist in the lobby who has photographed you walking in. I have 18 days of messages between you and Chisom Adeyemi, who does not exist. I have records from a woman in Abuja. I have my own 11 months of evidence, and I have this investment document with your name and signature on it, promising returns on money that was never going to be invested in anything. He sat down, not because he wanted to, because his legs stopped holding him. What do you want? He said. His voice was a different register now, shaking and shivering, nothing intimate about it. My complete money, my previous car, emotional damages payment, paying dearly for your crimes, she said. And Chinyere's money too, and enough to cover what it cost both of us to leave our lives and come to Lagos chasing a man who was never real. That's just the tip of an iceberg, she said. Transfer the money by the end of business tomorrow, or I send everything to Sola Adeyemi,
who will post it with your full name, your LinkedIn profile, the names of every woman you have done this to. He looked at her for a long time. And then he did something she had not expected. He laughed. You can't prove fraud. Love is not a contract. Whatever you gave me was solicited under false pretense of marriage, which, combined with the fake investment document you just handed me, that one, Emeka, is actually a crime. That one the police cannot ignore even if you have friends at the station. She watched him understand it, watched him do the calculation, watched him fail to find the exit. She transferred the document photo and all 18 days of messages to Sola from the table, right in front of him. I just sent everything to my journalist, she said. She won't post it until tomorrow morning. You have until then. That's if you live to see tomorrow, he said, as his eyes already revealed his motive. You don't dare touch me. If I don't walk out of this room unscratched, you will be killed by hanging. I can promise you that, she said confidently, showing him the tape slightly to let him know that every conversation was being recorded. He transferred the money at 11:46 p.m. She was sitting in Ngozi's kitchen eating a bar and egusi when the alert came in. She read it twice. Then she called Chingere in Abuja. Check your account, she said. The sound Chingere made when the alert came in was not crying and not laughing. It was the sound a woman makes when she puts down something she has been carrying for 3 years without realizing how heavy it was. 3 days later, Adaeze's phone rang. Unknown number. Lagos code. She almost didn't answer. Adaeze. The voice was quiet, careful. She recognized it immediately. It's Kemi. She said nothing. He removed the glasses. A pause. There were other women, more than just you and the one in Abuja. This is what he does for a living, scam women and make them look stupid. The journalist, your journalist, she posted, and 3 more women came forward. Silence. I want to apologize, Kemi said. That morning, when I asked you to leave, her voice broke, just slightly, then held. He told me if I didn't send you away, he would take the children and I would never see them again. He said he had a lawyer. He said... She stopped, started again. I know that doesn't make what I did right. I know you didn't deserve it. I know you came to that door with nothing but the truth, and I... Kemi, Adaeze's voice was even. Not warm, not cold, even. A long silence. Are you okay? Kemi asked. Adaeze looked out the window of Ngozi's flat. I'm still here, Adaeze said. That's enough for now. She hung up. She sat for a moment with the phone in her lap. Then she opened her laptop, created a new Google Doc and typed a single line at the top of the blank page. She did not come to Lagos chasing a dream. She stared at it. Then she smiled, small, private, the smile of a woman who now knows exactly who she is, and she began to write. Some men count on the silence of the women they have wronged. They count on the village and the whispers and the way a woman will sometimes protect a man's name at the cost of her own. Adaeze Nosu did not go back to any of that. She stayed in Lagos and she made sure every woman who came after her would know his name before he ever learned hers.